Hello, you are listening to the Divorce University online podcast with your hosts, Thomas and Tammy Ferreira.
Hi, I'm Tammy.
And I'm Thomas.
And we are back. And today, might be a little bit of a confusing topic, so I'm going to let Thomas give us a little intro. But this episode is called Seashells by the Seashore.
She sells seashells.
Seashells. Yeah, it's a tongue twister.
She sells seashells. I'm really good at tongue twisters.
Yeah?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
All right.
My baby's buggy has rubber baby buggy bumpers.
So that's a hidden talent, I suppose.
It is. It's one of those hidden talents.
I don't think I ever knew that either. So, hey, I learned something new today about you. Okay, so this is an episode that is focused on child custody, co-parenting type issues. So tell us why we're talking about Seashells by the Seashore.
Well, here's what happens to virtually everybody who goes through divorce. It's an intensely negative experience, as you probably know if you're listening to the podcast. And there are certain feelings that you have around your children. You know, you kind of want them to prefer you, and you want them to hate your ex, and you want to kind of win the custody war. And so you come at that other person with all of this care. It's like you're trying to plot a course. You're trying to scheme a way to get what you want in the custody case.
You were a schemer.
Yes,
you had plans. That's a line from that Heath Ledger says in Dark Knight.
Yes,
yeah.
But oddly enough, the more you scheme, and what people do is they scheme, but they try not to scheme obviously, so that they come right up to the line, but they don't really cross it. But everybody
knows. Or you can't call them on it.
Or you can't call them on it, and the solution to doing that, because that is that's a road to disaster, frankly, because everybody really does know what you're doing, and the other person gets upset, and it draws you into conflict. And what we want to talk about in the seashell episode is a positive strategy that you can use to both win the custody, win the litigation, and also get what you want in your family life. Have good relationships with your kids and even with your ex.
Right. It's a lot more peaceful if you have a good relationship with your ex. So, yeah. Our little dog is in the backdrop today. So if you haven't seen her before and you're listening to this on the podcast, go check us out on YouTube, and you'll.
She's the best dog in the whole world.
Yesterday was her birthday.
Yesterday, yep.
And she turned 16 years old. Yeah.
But by the time this airs, it'll be 2 days ago that it was her birthday.
Well, yeah. Well,
yes.
The day we're recording this, it was yesterday.
She's 16 years old, and we took her to the beach.
We did.
And she walks very slowly, which is okay, because so does Tammy.
Tammy's having an ankle issue right now. She's a little slow herself.
Oh, there she is, there in the corner.
Yeah, you can see her hanging out back there. She loves to lay on the couch with her little favorite blanket. But anyway, so I think we do all have that feeling of wanting our spouses to, our children to like us better than our ex. I don't think many of us would admit that. That's kind of you kind of know that's not really a good way to feel, but I think we automatically do. And so a lot of times what people try to do is they try to come at this in a way that they think will cause the children to like them more, but they don't always understand what that is. And I think that one of the mistakes we see people make sometimes is lack of discipline.
Right. Yes. They think, well, if you let the kids do whatever they want to, and they can have ice cream whenever they want for 3 meals a day, and they can go and set fires in the backyard or whatever.
Stay up. I don't think most kids want to set fires, but like stay up as late as they want, play their video games.
Well, the point is, you got to discipline when they do something like that. Like we had a case where, my son stole a pair of tennis shoes from a girl that he used to play with when he was in elementary school.
Yeah, in our neighborhood.
Yeah, he stole a pair of shoes, and you got to discipline him when he does that.
Yes.
Or he'll grow up to be a thieving, conniving teenager.
A shoe stealer.
a shoe thief. No, you've got to discipline, and
Yeah.
you can't be afraid of your kid.
Mm-hmm. And the ironic thing is, I find that if you do discipline, and I say that to parents a lot, you cannot be afraid. You can't let the custody situation make you afraid to discipline your child.
Right.
I mean, there's certain things that are kind of frowned upon, corporal punishment's frowned upon, a lot of times in the court system and, in certain situations.
Yeah, I had to stop beating my children.
Yeah. And different things like that.
Yeah.
But really you can't be afraid to co-parent, or you can't be afraid to parent and to discipline the child, because otherwise they'll just run roughshod over you and you're toast.
Right.
But when we're talking about Seashells by the Seashore, I mean, what this concept came out of is a story that I heard, and it's really about, I don't even know that this parent was a divorced parent or anything, but it just really encapsulates.
Yeah, this is so cool.
It really encapsulates the fact that children want your attention. They want you to interact with them. They want you to be present. They want you to, observe. And I was reading this article about.
Wait, before you start on to that, because I do want to hear that story.
Okay.
But I want to add to something you just said, which is that, and you can go back to one of our really early episodes, where they tell you that the relationship is king.
Right.
In other words, the people that win in family court are the ones that take the time to build relationships with their kids.
Right. And many people are focused on the other parent. And again, if you've listened to episodes, you've heard us say this. People get really focused on the other parent. And sometimes the other parent's driving you crazy. And it's really hard not to focus on them or what's going on in their world, or trying to figure out what they're doing or what their motive is or what their angle is. Or, I hear all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, what's your angle?
What's
he trying to do?
What's he trying to do?
He's being nice.
I get that question from moms a lot. Why is he doing that? What do you think he's trying to accomplish? And, sometimes I don't think he's trying to accomplish anything. Sometimes it's just that he's oblivious as to how the court wants him to act, him or her. You can reverse.
Now,
people,
I think this particular strategy is particularly low because it's guaranteed to work.
Which one?
The one you're about to tell.
Oh, the story I'm about to tell?
The story she's about to tell. See, it's okay to love your kids. It's okay to discipline them. It's also okay to love on them.
Yeah.
You got to love on them because relationship is king.
Yes.
So
yes,
how do
it
we?
Is. And the parents that succeed are in the long term. In the long term, the parent that succeeds is the one that actually is engaged and being a parent to their child.
I'm all about winning, and nobody outdads me. Nobody.
That's true.
Nobody.
You're pretty good, except maybe my dad. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. I love my dad. Anyway, so I was reading this. You know what, you guys? I wish I could give you the reference or tell you where it came from, but I don't even remember now.
No, you thought of this.
No.
When you
I
steal
read this article.
Don't tell where you got it from.
I read the article somewhere, and I think it was probably like a Facebook link, and I went down a rabbit hole. You know how you do, and then you just link an article to article to article, whatever. So there was this lady, and I believe her father had just passed away. And so she was, I don't know, 40s, 50s, probably somewhere in there. About my age. And she had been talking to her dad about how she remembered her and her sister when they were very young. He would take them down to the beach and they would search for seashells. And that sort of, we live in California, and we're only about 6-7 miles from the beach, whatever. And so that kind of resonated with me because Thomas has had little children. My children were a little bit older by the time I moved here, but Thomas's little children, we used to take them down to the beach when they were young and all that, and do things like this and have a good time. And we've gone to different tide pools, we've gone down to Birch Aquarium and different things. And so I thought, oh, how sweet. She has this sweet little memory of going down to the tide pools with her dad and finding all these shells. And she was talking about just how beautiful all the shells were that they would find a lot of times, and how that she had sort of created this collection over the years. And so one of her, prized possessions and memories of her dad was this shell
seashell collection.
Yes. And so I guess as her dad was getting older and ill and whatnot, he actually confessed to her that he had, in fact, used to go and purchase seashells.
You go down to that one of those stores near the
Yes,
beach where
one
there's
of the little tourist shops where you can buy all the beautiful shells. And he would take them down to the beach and place them, without, surreptitiously, without the girls knowing. And then the girls would find them and,
like,
be all excited and take them home as a collection.
I can't believe you found that. That's beautiful.
And he never told her all those
This
years.
is the best beach for seashell hunting I have ever seen.
She's like, every beach we go to has these amazing shells, And kids don't know things like that, right? They don't, we go down to the beach here near where we live, Oceanside, Carlsbad, or wherever. And it's like, you just see little pieces and chunks, and you rarely find like a whole, shell intact, let alone a large, nice one. And so, this was just something that he,
That is a great story.
Yeah, it really is. And I didn't really see it coming. I mean, she's talking about the shells and how she was collecting them and all that. And then when she said he confessed that he used to go purchase them and place them, and it just, so he created,
and he never told her until he was
older and
getting
close
ready
to
pass
to
away.
die. Yeah,
and he finally told her that he did. That must have touched her heart.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it did.
That's like way above advanced.
Yeah.
Dadding.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, it's really good. That is pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
Thomas and I both pride ourselves on being pretty good parents and being pretty connected to our kids, but that really was a great story. And so, Thomas and I talk about this concept a lot of stringing pearls, which is something that we learned from Dina Stacer, who's a high conflict co-parenting.
I know it's kind of expensive to put pearls on the beach.
Co-parenting expert that is here in San Diego, and people are often ordered from the court to attend her high conflict co-parenting classes. She's got like a series that both co-parents go through and all this kind of thing. And so she talks about this concept of stringing pearls, and that seashell story really fit in with that, because what she says is, one of the ways that you connect with your kids is by creating anticipation about them coming back.
Right.
From their visit with the other parent.
Yeah, this is my secret weapon.
Right. So, we all as kids had, remember you'd go to visit your grandparents or go to, do something like that, and you'd have this excitement because the last time you went, it was so fantastic, and you got presents and candy and, whatever it was.
I used to go to my grandmother's every year for Christmas. They had a home on the edge of the Niagara Escarpment, which is like the hill that eventually the Niagara Falls goes over, but it's actually a long what they call an escarpment. I don't exactly know what that means, but it was a big hill that they lived on.
That's our word of the day, I guess.
Yes. And I used to love going there. We would take the train we would drive through the Windsor Tunnel, which was in Michigan. And I mean, kids love to drive through tunnels.
Yes.
And it was a long tunnel. Like it goes underneath the whole like part of Lake Erie, and you just go through, and it drops you off. It goes from Detroit to Windsor, and you get off, and then you get on the train, because my grandparents lived in Hamilton, which is a steel town in Canada, and we would get on the train, and we'd spend 4 hours on the train going to Hamilton. We'd get off, and they had the best Christmas. I mean, all the presents under the tree, and the ham and the turkey and it was just, it's just this beautiful memory. It just, every time I think about it, my heart wants to explode.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was 50 years ago.
Yeah. Because you do have gray hair.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing she's talking about is, kids love that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it creates a positive feeling that they associate with you.
Right. And it's kind of interesting because, we focus a lot as parents on the negative impact to our kids of divorce, of, of the downside and how hard it is for them and all that kind of stuff. But this to me is one of the upsides, because if you are with your children 24/7, or, have them residing in the home with you 100% of the time, which is essentially how, I was, how my boys were. They were with me pretty much all the time. It's a little harder to do this. So if you actually have a parenting plan with the other parent, of course, if you don't have a parenting plan with the other parent, you have no competition and you're probably not worried about it.
Yeah.
But if you do have a parenting plan with the other parent, and, you're sort of like have a desire to like hold your children's interest and stuff, this is a really good thing you can do, because they do go away long enough for you to build that anticipation.
Right.
And that's something that Thomas and I have tried to do.
It's like, I promise to miss you if you promise to go away.
Like that. So the concept of stringing pearls, I know it's kind of like gone a long way around on this, but the concept of stringing pearls, I think we talked about this a few episodes ago too, is to like plan something and then engage the children in the process of that. So the example that Dina uses a lot in her stuff is camping. Like you could plan, where you're going to go, and then, okay, the next time they come back, well, what equipment are we going to need? And the next time they come back, well, where are we going to reserve our spaces at? And
Tammy's idea of camping is staying in a 4-star hotel close to some wilderness.
There. That's a good description of it right there. That's pretty good. I think that's your oldest son's idea too. He's funny because he likes camping, but he likes the luxury thing too. He's
That's
kind of
right.
like, he can go either way.
Yes.
But for instance, my only 2 kids live in Idaho, and they're older than Thomas's kids. And so the last few years,
they're my older kids.
The last few years, a lot of our trips have been road trips to Idaho. We like to do road trips in our family, and so since the older children live in Idaho, that's where our trips have been. And it's not like your kids are going, woohoo, let's get in the car and drive 3 days to Idaho. But what we do is, his kids love to surf, so it's kind of like, okay, if we go up the California coast and up through Oregon and stay by the water, what beaches have we not been to before? Where have they not surfed? What would they like to see? And we try to plan those stops on the way, so that trip, even though ultimately isn't necessarily a destination they want to go, there's a lot of things that they enjoy along the way and about the trip.
Right. Yeah. We took them to Mavericks.
Yes.
And I mean, they didn't surf Maverick. Mavericks is a very dangerous place to surf. But my older son was really into the Legend. Like, he loves they have those really big surfboards that they use for the big waves, and so we took him to Mavericks on one of those trips.
Right.
And he got to meet Clark. What's his
Jeff?
name? Jeff Clark, who was kind of a pioneer he's got a surf shop down there with all those big boards, and we got to meet him and talk to him, and it was just so cool.
Yeah.
And the other day I saw Isaac, and he was wearing Isaiah's old, I'm mentioning names.
That's okay.
I saw my younger child, and he was wearing the hoodie that my older child had got at Maverick.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
That was a few days ago. Yeah, I noticed that too. So, that's what Thomas's kids enjoy. And so that's what we build it around. I mean, the younger one's also into skating. So there have been times where we looked at,
I think I had more fun than they did.
There have been times we've looked at, what skate parks are on the way, or different things. If your child's into, if our children were into, sea life and creatures, maybe we would go to aquariums along the coast, or, zoos along the way, or whatever. You can incorporate so many different things into that type of situation. And I think when we talk about the Seashells by the Seashore story, it's like, that's what he did. He created that experience specifically to something that he felt like his children would enjoy, and created something specifically for them, even though it wasn't like there and readily available. You have to get creative. And so, like I said, I don't know that this dad was necessarily divorced, but if he was, that's like the perfect thing, because then each time and you don't go every time, obviously, but if you go every few times your kids come, you go down to the beach, you do a little searching for 15, 20 minutes for shells that you purchased at the
I think girls like that better than boys do.
Yeah. It depends. It depends on the child.
You
and
know,
their
like
gender and all that.
I think that your granddaughter, I won't mention her name.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think she would love that.
Yeah. Yeah, they would have a really good
She
time.
just go, ooh, and you could keep her going, and it would be best not to tell.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. You have to be able to keep the secret, right? I mean, this dad kept the secret for a really long time.
Right.
That's pretty incredible. So
you think it's okay to lie to your children?
So it's really about creating anticipation. I don't think that's really a lie. That's sort of like the whole,
It's like the tooth fairy
or the Santa Claus thing, and not everybody does that, but it's part of creating that magic and wonder for a child of certain things.
And Dina used to talk about that. She used to talk about creating a magic world,
right,
where weird things happen, like Disneyland,
right,
is that has that same theme.
Yes,
but it's kind of like, there's spirits and there's forces that you can't see, and it's okay to do that. It's okay to fantasize. I mean, I'm a very conservative Christian. I would say I'm probably more conservative as a Christian than anybody you know.
Right.
But I don't have any time for these people that say, "Oh gosh, we can't dress up on Halloween," or we can't play pretend. And I used to do this thing with my kids where we drive up to the light, and you know how the light's going to change. You know it's going to change because you can see the other light changing, and you know the.
Are you
sequence.
about to steal your ex-wife's?
Yeah, this comes from my ex-wife. To give her credit for this. But you tell your kids, you say to them, "Look, I can make the light change." No, you can't. I can. Watch me now. Watch me. Wait for it. Okay. And you go, poof, change. And the light turns green.
Of course, you have to know when the light's going to turn green to be able to pull that off, right?
Yeah, you have to. And for a long time after that, the kids would drive up to the they drive up to the light and they would go, poof, change. Poof, change. It's not working. And I'd say, well, wait a minute. You got to do it right.
Yeah, it's true. And that's just part of the little stuff you do as a parent with your child, right? The little games that you engage in, or, the different little special memories they have. My oldest grandchild is a girl that's 4, and I have 3 granddaughters, which is just crazy considering that I had all boys, but I do have one grandson also who I love dearly. But my oldest grandchild is a girl. She's 4, and they've lived away most of her life, and it's been really challenging, to bond with a young baby. They forget you real quickly and all that kind of thing. As she got older, one of the things that she has learned, one of my favorite restaurants, we've talked about this before, is Olive Garden. And so thankfully, I have a daughter-in-law who also loves Olive Garden. And so when we go to visit them, most of the time, Olive Garden is involved at some point in our trip. So my granddaughter, of course, has discovered that Olive Garden has the little chocolate Andes mints, which she loves. So while Thomas and I are not with them when we're home, and we go to our regular Olive Garden, local.
And if you tip well at Olive Garden, the servers reward you with
extra mints.
With piles of mints.
I wouldn't say piles. We don't want to get anybody in trouble, but a few extra mints. So what I usually do is, we'll eat a couple of them, and then I'll put them in my wallet, in my purse, and save them. And so when we go, first thing out of my granddaughter's mouth, just about it, when she sees me, "Nanny, can I see your wallet?" she says, because she wants to see if I have Olive Garden mints in there for her. And so she and her sister, my second granddaughter is 3, so she's starting to get into the process of what that looks like and having her Olive Garden mints. But I don't think she likes them quite as well as my 4-year-old granddaughter. She is really crazy about
My grandmother used to always have Scudder botches.
Yeah.
We had little butterscotch candies and.
See, we all have that thing, right? You see it more in grandparents, I think, just because you have experience. You figured out how to be more creative with kids. You have the time, right?
Yeah,
You're not
right.
running around trying to accomplish bed and bath and dinner and all
And
that.
beyond.
So yeah, as a grandparent, you can kind of do little things like that. My dad is really good at that kind of stuff. He used to send my kids. I mean, my kids would get stuff from him on Valentine's Day, Halloween, like, every little, third Monday in July, just whatever. Every single holiday he would have something that he would send, even if it was just a little card or whatever, because my parents were in Kentucky, and so my kids grew up far from them as well. So
and let me tell you a little secret. It's a blast.
Being a grandparent?
It's a blast being a grandparent. It's a blast being a parent. It's a blast having little kids. Now, some of these techniques won't work on teenagers.
Yeah, this is our disclaimer. We're not responsible for any grumpy teenager that doesn't appreciate your... Here's the thing about the teenager, though.
Yeah.
They do appreciate it.
Right.
They just won't show it.
They won't show it
Just
because
like-
it's not cool.
It's not cool. It's just like with your
Yeah.
son, how he loves the road trips, but half the time he spends like just being grumpy and acting like he could care less.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about this.
Yeah, but he's the first one in the car if we decide to go somewhere.
Yeah, it's like, oops, I accidentally showed some enthusiasm. Can't have that.
And sometimes, it is hard, especially, being a single parent and kind of having all the responsibility, during your parenting time. And, I know a lot of single parents who the other parent isn't involved, kind of like mine was. And so it was on me pretty much 24/7. And sometimes you can kind of lose sight of the fact that this stage is not going to last forever. I promise you, I have 31 and 27-year-olds.
Yeah.
They're not near as cute as they were at,
Right.
7 and 3. So,
But if you lay the foundation when
Right.
they're young, then there's another period of their life after that that has its own pleasure.
its own rewards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now my boys have produced grandchildren who, of course, I'm very close to because I'm very
Yeah.
close to both of my sons. So, that's really, like Thomas said, relationship is king. And relationship isn't just king for the point of time when you're going through this custody stuff. Relationship is king later on, too.
Right.
I mean, because of the bond that I've created with my boys over the years, I now have the luxury of the very fulfilling relationship that I have with both of them and their families.
Right.
I continue to be the person that they rely on, that
It's
they call
very
when they need to
rewarding.
talk. And,
Yeah.
so you're laying the foundation for this whole future, for your interaction with your grandkids and everybody that you can't even fathom is going to exist. I could not have in my wildest dreams have imagined having a 4-year-old granddaughter that I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, a 6-month-old granddaughter, a 6-month-old grandson, but I never could have fathomed how much I just love those children.
Right.
I just adore them. And I had no concept of that 15 years ago, or 20 years ago or whatever, but I was building a relationship with my children at that time.
Right. And you know what? Parenting's fun. It should be fun. It's not always fun.
Not always. Some days are rough.
Not when your kid steals the girl down the street's shoes. That's not fun.
There's been a few other bad days since then we
there's
can
been
talk about.
But in general, it's very rewarding, and it's the stuff of which life is made.
Right.
You have to do it, and you can't let the fact that you're getting a divorce stop you from doing it.
Right. And this is really the only thing. I mean, to me, I always say you can make more money. I know the money gets hard when you go through divorce and all that, but you can recover financially. You can work, you can do things, you can improve your education,
True.
you can start a business, you can do all kinds of stuff, but you are never going to get back this time with your kids.
True.
When it's gone, it's gone. So creating that anticipation with them, and really, kind of on those bigger things that you want to do with them, like a camping trip or some sort of trip or vacation or whatever, you don't have to do that kind of thing every single time, but you can even use that type of annual event to plan, just to string those pearls, so to speak, and plan the trip out over the course of several months and
Right.
figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's time well spent too, on that planning and on that anticipation.
yeah, it's very, very good. Okay, so we hope this is giving you some creative parenting ideas. I know it helps to even just hear other people's perspective, and you know, building that relationship with your kids is the number one thing you can do, because, you know, it helps your court case and it improves your life. So it's got that whole legal and life aspect that we talk about. So it brings the whole thing full circle. So thanks for joining us today. If you are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so that you get notified as new videos come out. If you are listening to the podcast, please rate and review us, and also subscribe so that you get notified as new episodes come out. And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Divorce University online podcast with your hosts, Thomas and Tammy Ferreira. For more information, visit www.divorceuniversityonline.com.